Oh, welcome back to another episode of On the Spot Sports. I'm Jack, and today's episode we're joined by a very special guest, current professional hockey goaltender with the Port Huron Prowlers, other Federal Prospects Hockey League, Jameson Bourque.
How's
Jameson
it
is
going?
in his he's in his first it's going good, but he's in his first year of professional hockey with the Prowlers. But he spent 4 years playing NCAA Division III college hockey, 1 year with New England College, and then 3 years with Plymouth State University. And before that, he spent time in juniors in the EHL with the New England Wolves. So I'm excited to have you on, Jameson. So welcome to the show, Jameson Bourque.
Hi, pleasure to be here.
Yeah, it's good to have you on. And just to start things out, like how have you been? Like you're in Port Huron right now, so how's everything there?
Yeah, I mean, I have loved every second of being here. Came in a little later in the season, but was able to come into a team that was already kind of formed, which obviously can be a little nerve-wracking, but the guys in the locker room are awesome. Welcomed me in with open arms and kind of seemed like I've been here almost all season long. So definitely a good feeling.
Yeah, that's huge for sure. And like just got to get settled in with the boys and everything. And yeah, you're living the dream one day at a time, so can't complain.
No, not at all. My go-to saying is it's either there's one of two. One it's either it's a great day to stop a puck, and two is just living the dream.
Yeah, hey, they both sound perfect to me. Gotta love stopping the puck, and you're living the dream. Can't complain.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah, but to really like start things off here, like I want to get into like your origin story. Like when did you start picking up the stick? And I'm sure did you start as a goalie or were you a player?
I mean, obviously, kind of Mites was a player, but anytime that they asked for a goalie, my hand would shoot up instantly, and then out of the corner of my eye, I could see my dad giving me like the death stare, like, "What are you doing? Like, you're not a goalie." But no, I have two older brothers, and they were in hockey before I was, born and able to walk, and so kind of just wanted to follow in their footsteps. So started skating at 2, I believe. And then playing right away as soon as Mites came around. And yeah, just, playing knee hockey in the basement is kind of what got me into liking goalie. Was kind of forced into it. Two older brothers were always shooters, and they were like, the only way you can play is if you hop in net. And
You're the shooter tutor.
exactly. So I did it, and, here we are 23 years later and still loving it every day.
Yeah, that's awesome though. To just, I mean, you were the shooter tutor for a while there, and you just had to grow into it. But like, what really made you fall in love with the position of goaltending? Because it is such a special position, as both of us know.
Yeah, I mean, definitely I think when you're younger, you're more fascinated towards the cool gear. But I think the more that you grow up, you get to realize that it's like you kind of are the backbone of the team. You can kind
Yeah,
of control every situation, whether it be communication or just making a game flow smoothly. But just kind of like the rush of the emotions that you can get. There's so many highs and lows. And definitely, always chasing those highs, never want the lows, but it's part of the game to have them.
yeah. You're always gonna have the lows, the highs, everything in between. But that's why we love the position because, like, gotta love the pressure if you're gonna be inside the crease and everyone looks towards the goalie if you give up a goal. It doesn't matter if it's a snipe or if it's a soft one. You're still getting looked at after every single time.
Exactly. It's one of those where it's, everyone, the mistakes in front of you don't get noticed as much until you kind of really break it all down, break down the play of it. But yeah, in the moment, everyone kind of looks at you, which obviously sucks, but it's something that you obviously get used to after years of playing. You kind of get that feeling like, we all have our mental resets that we go through to kind of shake something off and kind of, mentality is, got to have the next one.
Yeah, exactly. Gotta have a good mindset like that. And like you said, like you're growing up, like you grew up in New Hampshire. So like what was youth hockey growing up for you like, and just going from, like you said, mites, you're forward, a little bit of player, a little bit of goalie, and then like what do you do throughout the rest of the youth organization until you got to juniors?
Yeah, so growing up, I essentially played the lowest level of hockey I could my entire life. My youth was, just above house league. for a small town team, and we played Tier 5 New Hampshire, which I don't even know if that's still a thing. But yeah, I played that from mites up until bantams. Really kind of came full-time goalie around probably squirt, maybe second year squirt. Before that, split season or, playing every other game as a goalie, some as a forward, but always loved the feeling of being in the net. And then going into high school, played Division III New Hampshire high school hockey. Those that have played it know that it's probably not the greatest level of hockey. My team, we took in everyone. We taught a couple kids how to skate as freshmen and kept them on our team until senior year.
Yeah.
Uh, didn't really get my first bit of elite level hockey until senior year of high school, where I joined a split season team for the New Hampshire Avalanche. Did that, and then unfortunately, after I graduated high school, I had to have a massive knee surgery that kept me sidelined for a year. Fully recovered from that, thankfully, and then went on to play juniors for the New England Wolves.
Yeah, like what was it like finally getting that opportunity? Like you played the lowest level just above house, like you said, and then you're able to play like elite level from what you've been playing with that split team, and then finally like getting into like the jump of the with that New Hampshire the New Hampshire team.
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely a shock. I mean, my high school team, we were pretty solid. So obviously got to face a lot of rubber from that, but
Yeah.
into, an elite level team, it's a little bit different. And you kind of just have to be ready to step up, and just be ready to play your heart out every single chance that you can get. And I mean, it was a short season. We played maybe October to November, just to kind of up until high school season started, and kind of split time with a goalie there. But it was, we'd have games where we'd have, maybe 10 players total, maybe even eight some games. So you knew you were facing a lot of shots. I remember there was one game that we played in like a showcase tournament. Went out there, we had eight guys. The goalies were to split that game. And I think even in, a 30-minute period, 30-minute time frame, I still had over 30 shots against. Um, and like in high school too, just getting absolutely peppered with shots and kind of having the amount of shots and being on some low level teams against some higher end teams, you get used to facing some shots, and just being able to kind of, I guess, roll with the punches, and just be able to kind of keep yourself steady and keep your game steady. So that was definitely huge going into juniors.
Yeah, so like what was that development period like just before juniors, like what you said, like you're facing a lot of rubber, you're on a lower quality team, facing high level shots, high level team. So like you said, you're seeing a lot of rubber and like at first like you think it's a downside because you're facing all these shots, but like when you look at it, like it helps your development and like it helps you like grow as a goaltender quite substantially compared to like an average number of shots.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you're on the best team, you're typically not facing a whole lot of shots, but if you're on the worst team, you're facing a ton. Um, I think in juniors, I would have some games, facing 60 something shots, and just doing everything you can to keep it tight. And yeah, it sucks in the moment, but you look back on, you're like, wow, like I was able to accomplish that. Like, kind of gives you some confidence depending on which way you look at it.
Yeah, exactly. I know that feeling quite a bit. Like over the last three years of playing pro and at the senior level too, like faced 60, 70 shots a night, and I would much rather face those amount of shots than face 20 to 25 because you got to stay in it the whole time.
Exactly. And it's making you better in the long run.
Yeah, exactly. But then you make that jump from the split season team to the New England Wolves in the EHL Premier. So like what was your experience like with the New England Wolves and like just getting your shot at junior hockey?
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty cool. I mean, like I had mentioned a little bit earlier, I had a knee surgery kind of right after high school. And I was talking with the Wolves prior to that, and they knew my situation of, gonna have this knee surgery, could be out for a whole season, like kind of didn't know until it all happened. And so during my recovery, they were awesome. They allowed me to kind of be a part of the team still. I'd kind of help out around the rink for home games, and then travel with them on the road, and almost be like an equipment manager for them. So it just kept me involved in hockey, which was awesome. And then right towards the end, right when I got fully cleared to start playing again, actually, is when COVID hit in New Hampshire. Um, and so that kind of, almost sucked. Felt like it was taking the wind right out of me just because I'm
Yeah.
like, I get back, all the rinks are still open to now you can't find ice anywhere. But just kind of did some stuff off ice, whatever I could, just trying to stay active. And then I started doing some goalie camps with GDS out of New Hampshire, out of New England, I guess. Did a summer camp with them and just, kind of got my feet back underneath me, trying to shake the rust off before training camp. Um, and then, yeah, went in there, kind of wasn't sure what to expect. Got my toes in the water, had played the preseason game, had good results in that. Ended up being lucky enough I think I was named starter technically at the end of training camp. No one officially said it to me, but
Yeah.
at the first start of the season, and I still remember that one because it was first game of juniors and going to a shootout. Ended up losing in the ninth round of a shootout, and
Ouch.
like I was upset, but looking back
Yeah.
at it, that's a memory that you make. And then shortly after that, kind of everything shut down the state again due to COVID, and kind of really completely flipped the script and kind of took all the rhythm that I had and the momentum that I had, which was tough, but just kept battling and took an opportunity when I got it and tried to run with it.
Yeah, so you took that opportunity the next that year after that, and like you put on a good performance with the Wolves, and then it's like what do you learn from those experiences in junior hockey that you were able to bring into college, like when you're like you had like the whole COVID season and all that happened, like you were finally finding your groove, and then just got taken away. Like what do you learn from that aspect, and then as a player, and like continuing to get better every day.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big things that I learned kind of throughout this time and throughout my college career was just, controlling what you can.
Yeah.
You can control everything that happens in a game and a practice, but you can control how you react to it. You can control how you show up to the rink, how you treat everyone. And that's kind of been one of the biggest things I've learned throughout my career is just controlling what I can. Because it's very easy to look at stuff that you can't control and kind of get upset about it. But then it's just going to keep staying in your head and you're going to lose track of your focus and so on and so forth. So just kind of was able to control what I could, which was just how I approached every single day. As much as it kind of flipped my life around or flipped my season around, it was just like I still have the opportunity to keep going and playing, and just have to make sure that I show up, and show out when I do get my chances. And kind of just took that as my motto and just ran with it.
Yeah, like what's your mindset during practice is when you're not seeing that you're not getting that shot right away, and then you keep grinding, keep grinding away, and that shot finally comes. Like what's that mindset during practice, and then you're able to like switch it during to when it's game time.
Yeah, I mean, definitely it's in practice, I tend try to be loose at times, but also
Yeah.
you can't when it comes to, or flip the switch when it comes to a game time. So
Yeah.
got to be focused throughout the entire week, but just trying to, do the little things right and let those little things build up, and become bigger pieces of the puzzle. And that's kind of something that we focus here on in Port is just doing all the little things right. Um, because I mean, you might get a bad result, but if you're doing the little things right and you're progressing towards something bigger, that's all that you need.
Yeah, it's just building block after building block. You're working every day for something and getting that 1% better every day. Whatever you set for that day, you're getting better at that, and it's gonna add up. And like I said, like it just compounds. And a week you get better, a month you get better. You're better than in 2 months throughout the year. Like just goes on and on.
Exactly.
Yeah, but you started out at New England College for your first year of college, but you didn't see any time. So like, what was that experience like? Just to get into that college game and see the NCAA Division III route and really find your path eventually with Plymouth State.
Yeah, so that was quite an interesting year for me because I went in unrecruited. Just kind of showed up to campus on day one, being like, yeah, I'm gonna try out for the hockey team here. Because I like most D3 teams, they hold tryouts.
Yeah,
And the school was 15 minutes from my house, so I commuted back and forth every day. But yeah, just kind of showed up for tryouts, not knowing what their situation really was. and I get there and I believe there was five senior goalies, like four or five senior goalies. Um, and then there was one, if not two guys that were not seniors. And I'm like, all right, like, I might probably don't have a shot of, playing or even possibly making the varsity team this year. But next year, they're losing numbers, kind of just always be ready. And so I ended up not technically making the varsity team right away. Um, and they had a JV team, which is essentially club hockey. And so, I stuck around, did that. And then Christmas break, because the way the school schedule worked, the first semester ended at Thanksgiving. And then you'd have January and almost all of or December, January, and like half of January off. Um, so the kids on JV weren't allowed to stay on campus. And I'm there, and two of their goalies went down. Like one got injured, the other one was sick. And so I get a call on like a Saturday morning, and I'm like, oh, like, so, I know who this number is. So I pick it
Yeah.
up. I was like, how's it going? He goes, and it was the head coach, and he's like, hey, is this Jameson? I was like, yeah, like, what's going on? He goes, can you come practice with us on Monday? I was like, yeah, like I guess what time? Like he told me, he's like, yeah, like I'll see you then. And so that was it. Like I wasn't sure what was kind of really going on. And so I get there and I hadn't been practicing for like 2 weeks at this point.
Yeah.
So I was kind of pretty rusty going to this practice. And it's me and one other kid in net. And I'm like, what is going on? And so like the team kind of gave me the rundown of, guys being sick, guys being injured. And they had 2 games left until Christmas break. And so I went out for practice the first day. And then I'm standing there afterwards, and I go up to the coach because I haven't heard anything about the rest of the week yet. I'm like, hey, like, do you want me to come back tomorrow? Like, I'm working a full-time job at this
Yeah.
point. Like, I need to know. Um, and he's like, yeah, yeah, come tomorrow. I was like, all right, sounds good. And so I show up again the next day, and again, doesn't say anything to me. And so I go up again at the end of the practice. I was like, hey, like, you guys have a game tomorrow. Like, am I supposed to be here? Like, you still haven't said anything to me. He's like, yeah, like, come tomorrow, like,
Yeah.
figure it all out. And so I go to the morning skate for that game. And, I head home, and all of a sudden I get a Instagram DM from the captain of the team. And it's a picture of the lineup for that night. And I'm in it. And what's going on? And so they're like, they gave me the rundown, like, be here for this time, no later by this time,
Yeah.
meeting at this time, so on and so forth. It's like, all right, sounds good. Like, I'll be there. Get there, and at the time, the JV, I was still dressing in the JV locker room, completely different from the varsity. And I'm like hanging out, like kind of taping my stick, whatever. And one of the guys on the team comes up to me, he goes, what are you doing? I was like freaking out. I was like, I'm supposed to be here. I swear, like they told me to come. He goes, no, get your gear and get in the room. All right, like had no idea that was happening. Packed my gear up quickly, got into the room, and kind of used that as like leverage,
Yeah.
almost of like, all right, like kind of built my confidence up. Dressed with them for 2 games, stayed with them for the entire week up until everyone went on break. And then got one more call from them later on the year, to come to a practice. And that was essentially it for my like freshman year. Didn't really do like any more practice with them, just kind of random pickup leagues. But kind of took that as confidence and was able to kind of keep it in the back of my head of like this what I really want to work towards.
Yeah.
Uh, and then kind of going into the summer, I was like, all right, like let's do some training, let's do a summer camp, like kind of get more work in so that way I'm ready come tryouts for the following year. And, show up to tryouts, and I think there were 6 freshman goalies that he brought in, and two of the seniors decided to do their 5th year. There was like 11 goalies out at tryouts.
Wow.
And what is going on? But I'm like, also at the same time, I'm there. I'm like, all right, like I was on the team last year, like putting in all this work, like should be able to make it again this year, like and possibly just be like a practice guy.
Yeah.
And sure enough, that's not what happened. Ended up getting cut and put back on the JV team. And right away, I like went and talked to our athletic director, and I was like, I want to transfer.
Yeah.
and the athletic director was our JV coach. And so I was like, I'm sorry, but like I'm not just gonna waste another year here
Yeah.
if I'm gonna be on that top team. He goes, no, like I get it, like I'll kind of get all your paperwork done, and we'll go from there. And wasn't really sure what to expect from it, but I had on my elite prospects that I played NCAA Division III as a freshman. Um, and so got like had one school reach out to me. I think it was Skidmore. Um, and they wanted me to come in as practice guy, but then gave me a big warning about their tuition, and saw that, realized it wasn't plausible for me and with what I wanted to do at the end of my like for a job. So kind of passed up on that, and then right before Christmas, got a call from the Plymouth State head coach and just was like, "Yep, I'm going." Went, joined, kind of had a couple calls with him. He was like, yeah, just kind of looking for a guy that's going to come in, battle, and be a good teammate. And I was like, yeah, like I can do that. Like, let me know what I have to do on my end. And sure enough, he was just like, apply, let me know if you get in, and we'll go from there. Applied, got in, and went to Plymouth pretty much the second semester.
Yeah, that's a crazy crazy story, but like it all like it all adds up. Like you just gotta go in, grind it out, be a good teammate, and you never know what the opportunity can come up with, and you never know what opportunities you can get from that, and then obviously the transfer portal and all that, and you had you had a good start to the NCAA Division III resume there too, so that helps as well. But like you then go in second semester to Plymouth State University. It's like what was it like getting used to getting back into like the swing of things at the NCAA Division III college level, and then just I mean you didn't see any action again until that year after, but like what were you doing your first year at Plymouth State and just to stay ready?
Yeah, I mean, we obviously, practiced every day, which was awesome. We had a goalie coach that would come up every once in a while and work with us. But it was just kind of working. One of the kids I actually got closest to, who ended up being my kind of goalie partner my senior year, and my roommate as well, Brandon Chance, he like kind of took me under his wing, knowing even though he was a freshman and I was a sophomore at the time, like kind of just brought me into everything, made sure I was involved and just on the ice. I'm like, I knew I could talk with him. Meanwhile, the starting goalie, he was on like the best season of his career, and I was
Yeah.
like almost to talk to him. And so Shanty, he kind of like showed me the ropes a little bit, helped me kind of get used to everything and get involved. Same with the guys on that team. They were awesome, kind of just very welcoming, knowing that they needed a goalie and that, I was somebody that could be sticking. Um, and so, yeah, he kind of just showed me the ropes. I think first week was probably a little bit rough for me, if I'm going to be honest, like looking back at it, just knowing what was happening leading up to that point. Um, but yeah, I got up there and was just like, yeah, like, coach's looking for a good guy, good locker room guy who's going to battle. And so that's what I set out to do, was just battle every day and just work and, be a positive atmosphere,
Yeah.
or kind of explode that and kind of be just positive in the room and help guys out whenever they need.
Yeah, that's huge. Just be that glue guy in the room, and then like pays off. Like you got an opportunity to play in one game the next year, and then you play in three the following your last year, your senior year at Plymouth State. So like, what were those last 2 years like, and finally like seeing everything pay off and seeing game action?
Yeah, I mean, it was, it's what I was working towards for a while. And so my junior year, kind of just mop up time. We are up on a team pretty hot, pretty well. And so the coach, no warning at all, didn't even give me a heads up that I might be going in. It was like 10 minutes left in the third. He just yells my name. And I like look up, snap my head. I'm like, what's going on? He goes, "Get in there." And oh, okay, like not sure what to expect. Um, and then yeah, I'm like that game it was crazy looking back on it because I faced every single like circumstance that you can in a hockey game in like a 10-minute period, 5-on-3, 5-on-4, 4-on-4, I think even 3-3 at one point. Like it was crazy. But no, I mean the guys, they had my back. They made sure my life was easy back there for my first
Yeah.
little bit of um And I just kind of used that and that feeling that I got from it and just was like, all right, like this is how it feels. I want more of this. And so just kind of put my head down and just kept working towards it for my senior year. Um, I kind of end of my junior year, some of the guys I was living with kind of were getting calls to go play pro. One of the guys is actually here at Port Huron with me. He was obviously here first. Is Brett Lockhart, but he was my roommate at Plymouth, and I watched them go through the whole process of getting picked up and heading out there and having a blast doing it. And so kind of, flip my mindset to I want to play pro at the end of senior year. But I'm like, in order to do that, I have to get games
Yeah.
like during. And so kind of went on this big kick for my summer of just, making sure I was in the best shape possible. Um, and that I was just ready from the jump. And then, senior year, we go in there. Again, I was sitting at that third string spot, um, but knew that I felt comfortable in the crease, was able to make saves in practice, just felt really comfortable in within myself. And then had a goalie go down within the first like 2 weeks of the season. And then it was just me and my buddy Chance, and just kind of rolled with it. We were able to kind of battle with each other during practice, but then pick each other up on weekends, which was huge.
Yeah. Yeah, that's huge to have a partner like that where you just pick each other up and be your biggest fans when he's playing, then same thing, vice versa when you're playing.
Exactly. And that's like it was we were roommates too, so it's like if it didn't go great, like we were in for a long year of just hating each other.
Yeah.
Anybody that knows him, you can't really hate the kid. He's just, he's awesome to be around, always positive, always looks for the positive side of things. And yeah, I mean, I'm excited to see what's in store for him coming up because he just finished off his senior season. So who knows? Maybe I see him somewhere in the Fed along the lines next couple weeks, but we'll see.
Yeah, that would be awesome. And like yeah, like you went 2-0 your senior years. Like what were some of like your favorite memories playing at Plymouth State and getting those wins and getting a good send off from Plymouth State?
Yeah, I mean the first game that I got to play against was against MCLA. That one the coach kind of gave me a little bit of a heads up. I think he told me on like a Tuesday practice. The game wasn't until Saturday. Um, and so obviously we have a game Thursday, and he tells me, but I'm like, if this game Thursday doesn't go well, I doubt I'm going in. So I didn't tell a soul. Told my parents, but that was about it. And then just kind of waited for him to say something to the team, and just kept working, kind of put that to the back of my head for the week just because I
Yeah.
didn't want to be nervous in practice and jittery and whatnot. But put it to the back of my mind, just kept working. We go through the Thursday game, we roll over a team, everyone's on the high vibes, and he announces it in the locker room at the end of the game, and the locker room just erupts. And that was a pretty cool feeling, just knowing that my teammates were excited for me, knowing that how hard I've worked, that they were just like super stoked to have me kind of get my chance and watch me prove myself.
Yeah.
Um, and so, we go out there for our game against MCLA, and, obviously I'm nervous. It's, my first career start as a senior, and we're in the second half of the season where, the top dogs, everyone's bringing their A game against us, and going to that game, and I don't know. I think we ended the first period tied against them, so obviously, a little shaky, a little nervous. But I was able to settle the nerves quickly in the first. We ended up getting a power play quickly, and sure enough, off the draw, they get a breakaway down. Um, and I had to make like two big saves right away
Yeah.
within the 30 seconds. And that's when I like fully settled into the game right then and there. They made my life easy though, didn't allow many shots, which was awesome. Um, and then, give late one up in the third, um, on a power play. And I like obviously upset about it, but I knew from my time in juniors, like just because you let up a goal and you weren't perfect doesn't mean you have to dwell on it.
Yeah.
So
That's
went out there, just kind of, enjoyed the rest of that night. And then like I think it was like 2 weeks later, we're playing against going into a game against Riviere, who they played us really tight the game before. We still came out with a big lead, but and a big win. But my buddy Chance, he was a little sick the night before and the game before. He ended up shutting out UMass Dartmouth. like 2-0 with the flu, like kind of total Jordan flu game. And so my coach was like giving him the nod again just because he was hot. Like run a hot goal, you
Yeah.
let him go. Um, but Saturday morning, like 10 o'clock, I get the text from my coach, hey, like Shancy's still not feeling well, you're going. And so I find out same day for that. And I was like, all right, like just another day at the office. Kind of kept that mentality of like, I play against guys in practice who are much better than this team. So
Yeah.
let's just keep working towards it. And that was another kind of fun game to be a part of. Had a lot of fans in the crowd. So that was also nice, but always nice playing at home, especially in a packed barn. And then kind of won that game. A little bit of tempers flared towards the end of that one. It was a little bit of a scrum that I ended up jumping into to save my roommate at the time. But looking back on it, wouldn't change a thing. Also went for an empty netter. Tried to get the goalie Gordie Howe, but got a point out of it at least. So
Yeah.
take
Yeah, you gotta take what you can. You win some, you lose some. You got the win. You got a point out of it. Like, hey, maybe there will be another time to go for the Gordy.
exactly, and it's like looking back on it, it's one of those where you take advantage of a moment because you never know if
Yeah,
you're going to get. They laid it out perfectly for me. They dumped it in at the red line on my glove hand side.
it's on a
I just,
platter.
yeah, exactly. I fanned on it. Still almost got it over the last defenseman, but guy had hops and kind of knocked it down at the blue line. But teammate went right behind, picked it up, and skated down, buried the empty netter.
There you go. Hey, at least they buried it. But yeah, it's always have good memories like that, and you got the win, you got the point. So no, and there's no harm in that. No harm in trying for the empty netter.
Exactly. And it's like I proved myself getting because
Yeah,
that quite a bit more shots on me in that game than in NCAA. And so obviously kind of proved that I could still hang, at the college level, that it wasn't just a one game fluke. And I think that kind of built some trust between me and the coach, as well as me and the rest of the guys on the team, as like just feeling comfortable putting me into a game in any situation.
yeah, exactly. So then you have those good memories. You go 2-0 your senior year, and then you go into this season, like you said, you're with the Prowlers right now in Port Huron. So like what has this year been like for you and just learning from guys like Reed Cooper, Bailey Huber, like guys like that and just working your way up and grinding your way up and you even got some minutes as well.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun coming in here that first week. At the time, Cooper, he was up on a call in Kazoo. So he wasn't there for the week, so I didn't get to meet him until kind of going into that Friday game. And kind of I looked at the schedule before like I got up here and realized that, got a new team, had Indiana coming in. And I was like, wow, like anything can happen this weekend. Like if I play well enough, perform, like who knows what could happen.
Yeah.
Um, and so I kind of come in the first day, meet everyone, chit chat it up and then kind of go out there for the first practice. And it's, my first practice in a while. This last practice I had was during training camp with Binghamton. Because I spent, 2 weeks there for training camp and then ended up getting released right before the season started. But, was pretty gassed coming out of that practice. And those that don't know at McMorran, you have to walk upstairs to go to the home locker room.
Yeah.
So was that was interesting that first day getting bagged and having to walk up a flight of stairs to get back into the room. But yeah, just kind of battled with Bailey Huber for that first week. And then kind of Friday after morning skate before the game, walking the locker room and Coop's back. And so obviously like everyone's kind of erupting, wanting to talk with him. And I'm just, I'm the new guy. I was in his stall. So the first thing I did was pull all my shit out of the stall. He gets back into home. And then, eventually me and him get to start talking and chatting, whatever. He comes, sits next to me, and we just, start chatting it up, and it was nice. Ended up going out that game, ended up backing up Bailey Huber, which was a cool experience, just, getting right into a game, like even if it was just on the bench, just kind of seeing that gameplay at face
Yeah.
level. Um, Going to that game didn't go as we planned, but I was almost thrown into that game, which was a little nerve-wracking, kind of first time in the league. And, here I am in the first period, we're down, and, head coach is telling me to stay warm just in case. And I'm like, what does that mean? Like, what is it supposed to do at this point? But no, and then Coop got to start the next night. I backed him up as well. And kind of, right from then, we kind of just our bond has been, we've been super close, the three of us. Whether it be goalie skates before practices or talking with each other on the road, um, or even TV timeouts. Like some play will happen, whether it be a goal against or a save. And me being that I haven't gotten in that much, they'll come back and they'll just talk with me about like what they saw or what, they'll ask what I saw. And I'm like, you guys trust me? Like, I'm third string right now. You want to know what
Yeah.
I did, like what I would have done, like stuff like that. But um, yeah, just kind of from the start, we kind of clicked, whether it be talking about gear or just talking about life outside of hockey, like just very close. We also all know like kind of some similar people throughout the league, or as well as like in college and whatnot. So, um, obviously that's all helped as well, just kind of building bonds outside of hockey. But yeah, I got some minutes when we went down to Topeka, Kansas, around Thanksgiving time. Wasn't the best of kind of debuts that you could ask for. Went down there and everyone on our team, coaching staff, trainer, bus driver included, like we all got hit with the stomach bug after the Friday night game. And sure enough, I don't even think I was supposed to dress for Saturday's game, but I get a call or a text at like noon that I was gonna back up. I was like, all right, like sounds good. Started feeling sick like 3 hours later. I was like, oh, now I got it. Like this is gonna be interesting. Like
Yeah.
down to goalies because the kid that was supposed to start Bailey Huber, he was thrown up at lunch. Um, and so yeah, I kind of, didn't tell anyone that I was throwing up just because I didn't want anyone to panic. Then we get to the rink. Our bus breaks down on the way to the rink.
Of
So we catch
course.
Yep, we catch Ubers there. Uh, and then like maybe 45 minutes before we're supposed to head out for warm-ups, Reed Cooper starts throwing up like 45 minutes puck drop. So at this point, like both the goalies are throwing up, almost everyone in the D locker room are throwing up. Basically like out of a movie. Like you couldn't have painted a better plot for it. And so, we go out there and I'm sitting there, I'm like, all right, we're both sick. Like he's just gonna play. I'm just gonna back up, like kind of just, eat pucks during warm-ups. Don't try
Yeah.
too hard. Like try and, save what energy you have. And so we go out there, warm-ups happens, comes back into the locker room, he starts throwing up again. Either throwing up or going to the bathroom, like something. He runs to the bathroom. We're all like, what's going on? Like, this isn't good. And so whatever, he still goes out. He gets the start. He goes out for the first period. That's up on one on I want to say like 7 or 8. Just kind of we turned the puck over in the middle of our zone, and guys came down and ripped one on him. Nothing he could really do, but sure enough, period comes and goes. We go back into the locker room. He throws up again, comes back to the stall. And the stall's in Indiana where the goalie sat, like we're right across from each other. And so he kind of like looks up at me. He goes, "Can you go?" I was like, I mean, I guess like if you need me to, like, yeah, sure, like I'll go. Um, and not thinking that he was actually gonna need me to. I was just trying to, be the positive teammate.
Yeah.
Um, and so sure enough, he goes, starts throwing up again, and he comes out just all white in the face. He goes, "You're going." I was like, "Oh, all right, like I guess, like, this is better now than never, I guess." Like,
Yeah.
so I start, stretching in the locker room, and he kind of looks at me, and goes, "You want me to tell coach, or do you want to?" Like, I go, you can. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not gonna
I'm
go
not I'm
tell
not gonna
coach.
be the one to do that.
Yeah, I'm not gonna tell coach that we're pulling our starter to throw me in. Like, not doing that. And so, and at the time too, like all my stuff's on the bench. My
Yeah.
helmet, my stick, like I was just being a backup. Um, and so I go out, I'm, sitting in the tunnel waiting to go out there. And, obviously the coach, everyone has kind of heard at this point that I'm going in. They all know that I was thrown up too. So kind of everyone's just trying to be positive, have a positive mindset going into it. And so, yeah, I'm sitting in the tunnel and like, I can't believe like this is happening. Like, I still can't believe that it happened. But yeah, I go out there. First shot ended up going in. It was high tip, went 5 hole on me. I
Yeah.
was like,
Ouch.
here. And
Like
then
what a start. What
yeah,
a hot
exactly.
start.
First shot in my professional career goes 5 hole. Like not something you want to have happen.
No.
Um, and so I, whatever, put it to the back of my head, forget about it. Was pretty easy to with how I was feeling, kind of don't remember anything from that night. Um, but yeah, just, made a couple big saves afterwards, but we threw another pizza up the middle, and sure enough, guy goes bunk on me from the hash marks. High blocker. I was like, well, there's another one. And kind of, made some more kind of big saves that were also like awkward looking just because,
Yeah.
nobody was doing good. Um, and ended up letting up like 4 goals on 20 shots. Wasn't ideal, but, had some big saves. And obviously everyone knew how I was feeling during the game. So they knew I wasn't, at my best.
Yeah.
Um, and so now here we are like 2.5 months later, and I'm just still looking for some more time, just putting in the work in and just trying to wait and be ready for that next chance.
Yeah. It's just like a story out of a movie. Just all the stuff happening and then you're like I'm sure you're like this is probably the night that I could potentially get my debut just
Yep,
because of how everything was going.
exactly. And it's like Bailey Huber is my roommate on the road too. So obviously like, we get back from lunch and he's sick and I'm, still feeling fine at this point. So
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, like you take everything that you need in the room. And I'm just going to take some couch cushions, throw them on the floor as far away as possible and lay down. Like try to get a nap and couldn't. Did everything that I could while he was asleep so that way I could make sure I was ready. Sure
Yeah.
enough, I'm waiting for the bus, and like 15 minutes prior to the bus loading up, I throw up for the first time, and I was like, here we go. Like, I got it now.
Yeah,
But
tough start, but hey, you got through it. May not have been the most ideal situation, but at least you got into it and like you have the confidence now that you can play and you can play in the Fed.
exactly, and I mean, I obviously having that night helps where I got my little bit of time. But realistically, it's been, all the practice and all the work that, has
Yeah,
been put in since then. Obviously, we have Chris Paulin as our associate head coach, who's also a goalie himself. So, we do goalie skills every week. Where just the goalies go out with him and some shooters, and we run through some drills, and he, breaks everything down for us. We'll do film at times too, like we've done a couple now where it's, the three goalies going over game film and everyone's dissecting it. And that has just kind of helped me learn the game even more at this level. And just kind of instilled confidence in me throughout the work that I've put in, where it's like when I get my chance, like I know it's going to be better than that.
yeah, exactly. You're learning a lot every day just from watching guys like Bailey and Coop. It's like what else have you learned throughout your time in Port Huron so far?
Just to enjoy like the little moments, because you never know when it's going to happen again.
Yeah,
At one point, we went through a 6 game skid where we couldn't seem to catch bounce, and it kind of, you have that in your mind that this can happen at any point in time during the season, so it makes you want to celebrate the wins even more. In that, I like I've kind of had this mental reset that I've had since my knee surgery. Remember where you started, remember why you started. And I've just used that when it comes to everything in my life. And, when something's going wrong, like kind of think back to where I was, whether it be, 3 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years ago, of being like, what was my goal? And seeing how far I've come to where I'm at now, to how I'm playing, how I'm handling different, bits of adversity. And it's like that's kind of what's helped me get through it. And I just kind of lean on that every day.
yeah. You're like you said, like you're living the dream now, and you've wanted to be a pro hockey player. Now you can officially call yourself a pro hockey player. So you're living the dream.
Exactly. And, won't take it for advantage at all. Love every day that I get to come to the rink and, stop a puck. It's always a great day to stop a puck.
Oh yeah, it always is. But I want to jump back to that knee surgery that you had and that and like what was that whole process like? Like you obviously hurt your knee, have to go through surgery and all that, and have a big recovery. Like what did it take to get back to where you are now?
Yeah, I mean it was a pretty long process. I actually so I popped the cartilage loose in my knee. on the end of my femur, and then need my tibia realigned at the same time.
Ouch.
Um, so you have cadaver bone in the end of my femur right now, as well as I want to say it's two plates and four screws in my tibia. Uh,
Ouch.
and so I popped the cartilage loose in the fall of my senior year, and the doctor essentially told me, he's like, you can't make it any worse than it already is. So if you can play on it, like go for it, like play on it, because you never know if you're gonna play like afterwards.
Yeah.
Uh, and so I kind of like took that as a challenge. I was like, all right, like if I can play on it, then I'm gonna play on it.
Fuck it.
Uh,
Why not?
Exactly. It's like my senior year of high school. I don't know what's coming for me next. Like, might as well take advantage of my last year. So I went out, had a great send off. Hit a couple milestones I was super pumped about. Ended up hit 1,000 saves, like halfway through the season, which was huge. I'm like nobody, not that we know of, nobody had hit that before, in my high school. So that was huge. At one point, I think it was a point 0.2 goals against average, like had a couple shutouts that were lined up in a row nicely. So that was a good feeling, and then ended up winning the state championship for the second year in a row. So obviously, great feeling coming out of that.
Yeah.
Uh, and then a week after the championship, I go in for my first surgery. And the doctor kind of was like, yeah, like it's a little bit bigger of a piece of cartilage than we expected. But we pulled it out, so you essentially have no cartilage in your knee now. And he was like, but the only downside is that we need to put you on a wait list for cadaver bone. And he's like, it could take anywhere up to 3 months.
Wow.
Um,
Ouch.
so I'm hearing that this was probably in March. And so I'm just sitting there like waiting to get a call. Had a vacation planned for end of the school year, so wait until after that vacation to get put onto the waiting list. So I want to say it was end of July that I finally get the call. And I just played in a men's league tournament. Was just kind of I was like, can't do anything worse to it.
Yeah.
Like they're it all up, so I might as well keep doing what I can. Played in a charity tournament with my cousins and brothers. First time we all got to play together, so it was super cool. And for a great cause too, which was also awesome. But yeah, so I get the call, and the doctor's like, "Hey, like we got your cadaver bone. The only downside is that we need you in here within the next week." And so I'm sitting there, I'm like 18 years old, just found out my summer is pretty much over.
Yeah.
Uh, and I was like, all right, like pretty much told my family, I was like, all right, I got 5 days to make a summer. Uh, and so he's like, yeah, like doctor's like, yeah, we'll have you in on Thursday. And we'll get your knee fixed up. And so I had pretty much Monday till Wednesday night to have a summer. Um, Made the most of it. Went in for surgery. Everything went well, thankfully. The piece that they put into my knee, the cadaver bone, was about the size of your thumb.
Wow.
So chunk of cartilage that came out of there. And then I was on crutches, non-weight bearing on my right leg for 3 months.
Wow.
Was locked up, couldn't even bend my knee for probably 3, 4 weeks. Um, and then I was in physical therapy twice a week. For I want to say 6 months, 6 to 7 months. And
Wow.
then around month 10 is when I finally got full clearance to go back to playing hockey. So at this point in time, I'm in 10 months from July. Um, you're looking at, I don't even know when it was, like March, April-ish,
Yeah.
getting fully cleared. So it was a long kind of road to recovery. Um, and if it wasn't for my family there, like I don't know if I would have gotten through it. Just because not being able to walk, like you kind of take it for granted. But I'm like, I couldn't even lay in bed without being in a little bit of pain. Never mind trying to carry food around the house, like go and eat, like everything had to be brought to me. People had to take care of me nonstop. Like it was truly like kind of just a setback, and just kind of it was all hands on deck when it came to my family, which was kind of the nicest thing about it. Just because I'm like I knew I had them to lean on, whether it be getting food, getting snacks brought to my room, whether it be getting clothes on, or even just drives to PT. But yeah,
Yeah.
had to relearn how to walk with my right leg. Just because the way the weight distribution was, it was all wonky to me now. So had to relearn how to walk and rebuild all the strength in my right leg.
Yeah, that's a crazy journey back, and just like you said, like everything you knew how to do that you didn't even think about, you couldn't do, and it was a struggle, and but hey, little adversity doesn't hurt anyone, just makes you stronger at the end of the day, and look at where you're at now. Like you said, like where were you 3, 4, or 5 years ago? Like you had your surgery, and now you're playing pro. Like that's a huge accomplishment.
Exactly. And it makes you kind of appreciate everything a little bit more. Um, and especially like that's when I really kind of came up with my mental reset of RWYS and kind of since then just stuck with it being like, yeah, like I had to relearn how to walk when I was 18, like when I was 18, 19. And now here I am playing professional hockey that I never thought I'd be able to do again.
Yeah. Yeah, that's pretty huge and a big accomplishment, and just goes for the hard work and just being able to get through it and face adversity head on and just go like you said throughout your career, just keep grinding away and keep grinding. You can't control everything, control what you can and just keep going forward.
Most definitely.
Yeah, but I have a few more questions before we wrap this episode up. So, like, do you have any tips and advice for younger players looking to get to that next level, whether it be juniors to college, college to pro, youth to high school, junior hockey, whatever that next step may be for them?
Kind of, the one thing that I kind of, have always kind of been is just like never think it's enough. Like always be hungry for that next step or that little bit more, whether it be, like, I mean, it's crazy to sound, but like whether it be studying for school tests, like you kind of get into a rhythm, do a little bit more. So the more that you do more, you're gonna keep doing it to other things.
Yeah,
So like I kind of, I would always be a little bit hungry, kind of do a little bit more, whether it came to the college season, whether it be hockey or school. And then when it came to summer, once school was out, it was like, all right, like I'm in the weight room now, like let's do more. Um, so always be hungry for that next step. And never be afraid to take a chance. I took an opportunity and took a chance to go to Binghamton for training camp, knowing that pretty much their goalies were kind of filled already, and ended up missing out on a chance from Port to kind of be here at the start. And so obviously that, stunk kind of once I got released, being like, wow, like I could have been in Port this entire year, but here I am, I'm back home like with nothing. And then, an opportunity comes up and, I drive out the next day and I've been in Port since. So be a little bit hungry and, take out every opportunity that you can.
yeah, that's a good piece of advice, and just do more, keep going, and yeah, you'll find your path and find your way. You just got to keep moving forward and keep one foot in front of the other.
Exactly. And just, being a good guy too, like
Yeah, that's
people
huge.
people don't really talk about a whole lot about, how far you can get just by being a good locker room guy. But I'm like, essentially, like that kind of kept me at Plymouth,
Yeah.
with you keep working more. And then, I'm here, I'm in Port, I'm not, dressing every single game. I'm not the stud goalie, that's Reed Cooper's job, not mine. But I found ways to kind of make me kind of be worth something in the room. I've been good with equipment, so I'm essentially the skate sharpener for the team. So I sharpen guys' wheels, and so it's, I do a little bit, every weekend to help us win or help us play games, even if I'm not dressed.
Yeah, that's huge, and like that's what I did in Watertown too. With my first year in Watertown, is I found the exact same thing. Like, you have to be a good guy. You have to be the guy that everyone wants to like talk to, wants to shoot the shit with, wants to be there for, and like you got to be that guy. You got to be that glue guy, and like you it like you said, like doing the equipment manager stuff, like. Sure, it may suck, but like it's keeping you there and you're still getting better every day. You're still practicing, you're still being with the boys. You have that opportunity to play to back up if it comes up. But like if you're a good guy, like you're gonna stick around, especially in the pro level.
Yeah, exactly. Learned that pretty quickly, and I'm, glad that I've been able to stick around, even though I haven't gotten to play. Like it's, a nice feeling being that I'm, needed and wanted at a place.
Yeah, you have value. Like you may not be playing right now, but you're gonna get those minutes eventually, and like you have value, so they're keeping you around.
Exactly.
Yeah, but My next question is like, are you a music guy? Like before, like you hop on the ice, like are you listening to what are you listening to? Are you listening to your headphones? Or are you listening to whoever's on aux?
I have been and will always be a headphones guy. I throw on my music and kind of stick to myself when it comes to pregame. I have a playlist of kind of rock and roll music for the drive to the rink. And I'll typically let that play until our pregame meeting. And then once that's kind of done, it goes into some hip hop, some more upbeat stuff just to kind of get the blood pumping, kind of get
Yeah,
your confidence. But always have been, but then it's, my day-to-day life, it's all country, so it's all mix up. But
yeah. That's something similar to mine. Like my playlist is all over the place. Like it's country, it's hip hop, it's like there's a little like hardcore rock, like old rock, like just anything that gets the blood going, get the juices flowing, like that's what's playing. Sometimes you just gotta skip around a little bit and just find that one song, find those couple songs that just keep you loose.
yep, I'm like, I got a few. I got like, I'm a little, superstitious when it comes to a few songs.
Yeah,
Listen to the same three songs. They don't have to be in order. But I listen to them right before we hop out for warm-ups. And it's all Meek Mill, so it's like pretty heavier rap. And it's just like it kind of gets me in the zone, gets me focused, and kind of keeps me hungry.
yeah. Gets you right at the peak where you need to be right before you hop on that ice.
Exactly.
Yeah, but I have one Instagram question, and it's from like your old goalie partner in at New England College, and my old goalie partner in Watertown, Spencer Kozlowski.
Oh,
And he said, let me pull it up. He said, "What's your favorite memory from TC at New England College?"
oh my. There's a couple good ones. He had these one-liners that he would say. Everything like anytime somebody didn't shoot the puck, it would always be like shoot the pill, handle the pill, pick pills. Like the puck was always a pill. Um, and then he was talking to us. I forget who he was referencing, but it was a old time hockey guy, like an older hockey player, probably like an '80s guy. So obviously the game has changed quite a bit. But we're
Yeah,
in prep, like one of my first practices on varsity. And he's talking like telling guys that they're not battling hard enough, that they're not breaking, like nobody's broken a hand yet. Like he's like, you got, make sure your stick under stick or stick over stick right up at their hands, like kind of freaking out on guys. And guys are like, we have a game in 2 days. Like, what do
there's
we
no
do?
need to injure someone.
Exactly. But yeah, so that's obviously a good memory. And then, he would get fired up in games when calls weren't going our way. Um, and his whole face turns red and you think he's about to have a heart attack on the bench and you're all just like everyone's like kind of looking out of the corner of their eye like not trying to make eye contact because they don't want to get yelled at like it was pretty interesting but I also have another one so I wasn't in the like team group chat for the week that I was there and so it's the day after a game and nobody told me the night before that we had practice next day so I just went to my day job.
Yeah,
um, and so I went in like an hour early just because I could. It was around the holidays and they needed help, extra help. And so I'm sitting there and I text one of the kids on the team, another freshman. I was like, hey, like, do we have practice today? And like sitting there, like he hasn't answered it or anything like that. And then next thing you know, he like calls me and I'm like, what's up? He goes, where are you? I go, oh, like I'm at work. Why? What's up? He goes, practice is in 15 minutes. I was like, well, nobody told me like what should I do? Like I was like, put me on the phone with CJ, who was our captain. I was like, hey, like, what should I do? Like, I'm 45 minutes away at work right now.
yeah.
Like, he's like, just get here as fast as possible. And so I was like, all right, like I ran to my boss and I was like, hey, like I have practice apparently, I gotta leave. And so I like turn a 45-minute drive into 30. Not gonna, tell you how fast I was going, but
Yeah. Uh-huh.
it was not the speed limit and you know trimmed down that time and then managed to get dressed in like 5 minutes and was out on
Probably
the
the
ice.
quickest time you've ever
Oh,
changed.
and I'm like kind of paranoid that I'm gonna get bagged for this because I
Yeah.
didn't we had practice or I was going to get screamed at in front of everyone. Because that happened to me in juniors. I was, 2 minutes on the ice for practice and I got scratched next game because of it. Um, and so, I'm like worried and I get out there, they're in their like little huddle before practice and, go through practice. Coach doesn't say anything to me. And so I kind of like took it on myself. I went up to him. I was like, hey, like, sorry, I was late. He goes, yeah, it's all right. Like the guys filled me in, but like you didn't know that we had practice. He's like, you're not in the team group chat. I go, no, like nobody told me last night that we had practice. I found out 15 minutes prior to that we had practice. He's like, all right, like I'll make sure you get in the group chat for
Yeah.
like forward. I was like, all
I'll
right,
give you a
thanks.
pass on that one.
Yeah, exactly. And then like was telling the guys like in the locker room afterwards, they were like, it's like, how'd you get here so fast? And I kind of pretty much gave them the whole story. And guys like, and you didn't get a ticket at all? I go, didn't even get like lights flashed at me. Like, don't know how, but I made it. So, but yeah, definitely some good ones. That NEC group was a good group. Cause he kind of took me under his wing a little bit too. Same with Cormy. And kind of, they allowed me to pick their brains when it came to stuff. And when it came to me actually leaving to go to Plymouth, Spence, he was the only one that actually knew. Because we had played actually Plymouth that night. Um, and Spence backed up, and Cormy, he hated Plymouth, and we ended up losing. So I'm like, I don't want to bother him about this.
Yeah.
So I texted Spence, and he was like, dude, like if they're gonna give you a chance, like go for it.
Yeah.
Like, who knows what's gonna happen here? Like you've already gotten kind of snubbed here, so might as well take a chance if you have it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good story to have though. Just like the different experiences, being being late to work and cutting that 45-minute time down to 30, and yeah, just having guys like Kaz like in your corner too. Like that's huge, and like it goes a long way too. Like Kaz and I like talk pretty frequently still, and like he does the same thing to me. Like he's that I'm able to go to him with that with whatever, and like he'll give some good advice.
Yeah, always will.
Yeah, but I think that's a great place to wrap this episode up. So, JMO, thank you again for coming on the show. I really appreciate your time and want to wish you the best of luck going forward with Port Huron.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on the pod. It was a blast.